Hey everybody, welcome to this week's version of our RMS Career Development Training Snippet. And today's snippet is about the buyer presentation. You know, we always seem to concentrate our efforts on doing a presentation for sellers, and we rarely think about doing a presentation for buyers. But in my opinion, this may be the best and most effective presentation you can do. So today we're going to take a little walk through the buyer presentation. So what happens when a buyer contacts you about looking for homes, or a buyer contacts you to look at a specific home? So what do you do? Well, if you're like most agents, you put the buyer in your car and you drive through 3 counties in the state of Florida and probably make it into Georgia in a quest for the perfect house. Or you can do the smarter thing and try something a little bit different. So let me kind of explain that to you. I call it to lead or to follow. That is the question. So you can be controlled or you can be in control. Now, being in control will help you achieve, in my opinion, a much more successful and rewarding career when working with buyers. Being controlled will lead to frustration, disappointment, and saying, I never want to work with buyers again. You might look something like this, hopefully, or more likely like that, out of control. Don't want to go there. Let's do something different. So let's start out with by being prepared. I believe it's always better to start any process, including the buyer process, with giving the buyer some really good educational material. This material can be given to them right at the beginning of the process, right after their initial contact, before any initial meeting, whether that be live or virtual, and certainly before putting somebody in your car. The specific materials obviously are going to change from person to person depending on how much experience they have in buying. But we've got some great material. I made a short little list here of a couple of things. I'm going to show you what they look like. And if you want any of these, believe me, I've got them, and some of them are even customizable. So we've got something called the buyer process. Any of these can be easily formatted to send in an email. They're PDFs, so easy to put into an email and to send. You might want to look at this before we get started. The 10 deadly mistakes buyers make when purchasing a home. Great little piece. My favorite of all time, great 20-page booklet, things to consider when buying a home, totally customizable to you. This is a great professional, educational buyer piece. You got to use it. It's perfect. And then for working with those kind of savvy buyers who want to know a little bit more about the market, um, Brian Buffini comes out with a market report twice a year. This is the most recent one. I'm waiting for the newer one to come out anytime now, but it's a great little piece. If you don't have these and want to look at them, just reach out to me. I'd be happy to put those in your hands. But my comment to you is get control early on, get control from the start. And I think that really starts with a pre-meeting phone call. Now, remember what I'm talking about meeting today. It doesn't necessarily mean live. It can certainly mean virtual. But I think we need to have a little information before we get started. So there's a little something called the CITO, come into the office. Now, we might come into the office virtually these days, but I think it's important to have a phone call that will lead to a meeting before we put the person in the car and try to start driving around looking for the perfect property. So I've got a copy of the dialogue here that I'm going to give you. What I'd like to do is just read it to you real quickly. So I think it makes a lot of sense. Remembering that you can alter this to make it sound more like you, and you can certainly edit it to make it sound more like this meeting is going to be virtual, but I think you'll understand as we go. So, hi, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Now, from my experience in the industry, I've seen buyers try to jump straight into the decision-making process without all the tools and information they need. At the end of the day, buying a home is a big deal to you, and it's a big deal to me. And I certainly don't want any self-inflicted wounds to occur during the process. To gain every possible advantage, it's important to come into my office, whether that's live or virtual, and spend 30 minutes with me so that we can lay out a roadmap for your home purchase. During our meeting, we'll talk about a range of topics from how the home search process is supposed to go to financing and mortgage options. We'll examine property improvements that make sense, as well as customizing a search process so that you see all the homes you'll want to see and very few of the ones you don't. I'll also outline a step-by-step game plan to find the home that fits your criteria for price, location, and style. And I'll let you know what to expect during the process. Most people buy 2 or 3 homes in their lifetime, but this is something I do every day, and I can assure you these will be the most important 30 minutes you'll invest in your home search. So, when's the best time for us to Zoom or to get together to talk about the process of buying a home before we get started? So, it's a great little dialogue. I really like it. Anyway, it's here, it's available. All you got to do is ask. So, this is the front page of our RMS customizable branded buyer presentation. If you don't have one of these and you'd like one of these customized and branded to you, again, all you've got to do is reach out to me, give me a little bit of information about yourself, and I will take care of it from there. Realizing that when you get this, you'll be able to customize it even further. It's a PowerPoint presentation, easy to change, easy to customize, make it yours. But I'm going to show you what mine might look like. So the buyer presentation, there's a table of contents. You could certainly go through that with them to let them know these are the things you're going to be talking about. By the way, I'm not going to actually give this presentation. I'm just going to show you what's in the presentation, and you can work on it from there. I always give a mission statement. My goal is to help you achieve your dreams. I want to make this experience positive, systematic, time effective, enjoyable, fun. This can be yours. Use it if you like. Change it if you want. It's up to you, but I think you really need to put out there what your goal is for them. I talk to people about the process. Home buying is a process. Today's the beginning of the process with our consultation, and these are some of the things we're going to talk about today. First of all, motivation. This is a great question as we move into a questionnaire that you'll see in a few seconds here, but it's a great first question to get things started. It would be really helpful if you could tell me a little about yourselves, including your lifestyle, things you'd like to do, and perhaps tell me why you've decided to purchase a home and why you've decided to move. Motivation. Motivation is a big deal. And if we can keep that motivation in front of them, it may make the process go a little bit more quickly and a little bit more smoothly. But as we move into the consultation, if I could wave a magic wand and put you in your new home today, what would it look like? Let them talk. Take notes. By the way, taking notes is a big deal to the customer because it says to them, you're listening. And listening, quite frankly, is the most important part of this consultation. And then we move into the rest of the consultation. We do have a consultation sheet that's available. It's a buyer consultation sheet. little 2-page deal that really kind of sets the stage for criteria. I'm not going to go through it all, but I think the presentation allows you to lead into the consultation, take notes as you go, so that when you start the actual process, you'll know exactly what they're looking for. I would talk to somebody about a pre-approval. I may even talk about a pre-approval on that first phone conversation, just to kind of set the stage. Have you decided on a lender? Have you talked to a lender about a pre-approval? If they have, perhaps they're looking for a second opinion. If they haven't started the process, I always try to lead them into our elite process by introducing them to Ryan Green at RMS Mortgage Services. So either way, I think having them understand why it's so important to have a pre-approval is really important. And the introduction certainly would be appreciated, I know, by Ryan. So in starting the house hunting process, let's lay it out. This is how we're going to do it. This is what works. From my experience, we start our search by viewing homes via technology, MLS, virtual tours, and so on, before we hop in the car and take the ride. So again, the process. Show them how you work. Show them how a professional handles a buyer. Show them how a professional helps to find them the perfect home with the least amount of pain. Talk about communication. Crucial. I would say that if there's a phone call that comes into a manager or broker, most often it's from a consumer, from a customer or a client who says, my agent never calls me. Now, I know that's not true, but here's what I do know. Their expectations were different than yours. So I like to say right from the beginning, how would you like me? How often would you like to hear from me? And how would you like to hear from me? Because obviously some people prefer the phone, some people prefer text, and some email. Don't assume how often, and don't assume the how. Find out right from the beginning. Makes things so much easier. When I get to this page, I typically say, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, when we've finally decided a home, now we're going to put in a purchase agreement, a contract for the purchase of your home. I'm going to serve as your advisor during the process, but I want you to know that you're going to make the final decisions. But this is what we're going to look at when we start the process of writing a contract. Talk to them about it. Talk to them about an initial earnest money down payment, a deposit, what that means, why it's important, and why it's important to a seller. Again, help them understand the process, and always help them understand that you are their professional advisor, and you're going to make this process as easy for them as possible. I think the buyer needs to know the seller has options when you put an agreement of sale in. Set the stage. They can accept it, they can reject it, or you can counter offer back and forth. And we're going to negotiate as we choose fit. And again, I'm going to advise you along the way. So remember, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, unfortunately, the process doesn't end when the agreement is signed, because we have a lot of work to do. We, meaning the lender, has some work to do. We, meaning you, have some work to do, especially in the area of inspections, title search, homeowners insurance. But realize that I am here again to help you with all of that and work you through the process. The final walkthrough, this is where we start to get close to having closing, which is important to you, Mr. or Mrs. Buyer, and don't tell them, but it's really important to you and your bank account as well. So we want to make sure this all goes pretty smoothly. Executing the closing documents, having the home delivered, and Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I am committed to giving you 100% of my experience. I am committed to assisting you in every way possible. I am committed to guiding you towards your goals of finding your new home and achieving your dreams. Are you ready to get started? Now, hopefully, the answer is yes. Now, hopefully, they are far more educated in the process. They are far less likely to run you ragged because now you are in control of the process and not the buyer. So that's my story. I am sticking to it. I believe a buyer presentation is one of the best presentations we can give. And right now, the virtual presentation is even better because it makes it go so much more smoothly. So, any questions? All you got to do is reach out to me. If you want anything we talked about today, all you got to do is ask. But I am convinced that this is the way to buyer success. Have a great day, everybody. Hey, stay safe, be well, and hopefully I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.